Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman, it's great to have you back on the program. I want to start with a recap of Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. I touched a little bit yesterday how disastrous the messaging has been from the White House. Pelosi saying one thing, Joe Biden saying one thing, John Kirby saying one thing. What are we supposed to make of this?
Well, I think you summed it up when you said that our foreign policy is laughable to the world. It is so incoherent as to say that we don't really have a foreign policy today. It's terrible. We're weak on the international stage. Look, I don't really have a major problem with Pelosi going to Taiwan normally, right? Members of Congress routinely go to Taiwan. Taiwan's a huge trading partner with us. They buy defensive weapons from us. We supply them, and we have a mission to try to get them to be self-defending, and they want to be self-defending. I've talked to their leaders. But here's the deal. The way they did this, Addison, was, as you said, clumsy. It's worse than clumsy. I mean, they were stumbling all over the place, falling all over themselves. And so what they did is they actually provoked China, which was already engaged in provocative behavior toward Taiwan. To me, it's just an absolute embarrassment yet again, and shows our weakness on the international stage and our incoherence from the Biden administration.
Well, and you can draw a straight line to it, Congressman. Just like every bad decision in the Biden presidency or bad policy or bad rhetoric, you can draw a straight line to it. With China, we knew, China told us, if Pelosi goes to Taiwan, we are going to take military action. Pelosi went to Taiwan. What's China doing now? They're rolling out their military. They're rolling out commercials, flexing their military power and everything. And now, you know, people in Taiwan are having to practice military lockdown drills. Same story with Afghanistan. By the way, we knew that if Biden pulled out in Afghanistan the way that he was going to, the way that, you know, don't underestimate Joe Biden's ability to screw things up. We knew that if Biden were the one to pull the troops from Afghanistan, it was going to be a disaster. And guess what? He did it, and it was a disaster. And we essentially handed the country over and our military arms over to a terrorist group. Now, Peter Doocy pressed John Kirby on this yesterday. Let's watch that real quick, because you had a comment about this as well.
We know that the Taliban was harboring the world's most wanted terrorist. You guys gave a whole country to a bunch of people that are on the FBI most wanted list. What did you think was going to happen?
I take issue with the premise that we gave a whole country to terrorist groups.
But they did. They did, Congressman. And I saw you on Twitter. You retweeted. They quite literally handed Afghanistan over to the Taliban.
Yeah, I mean, for them to say, no, we didn't give a country, they did. They gave the keys to Bagram Air Base to the Taliban. They gave all the something like $84 billion worth of materiel to the Taliban. The Taliban is not a peaceful bunch of prototypical Republican government, Democratic types. They're terrorists. They've been terrorists. And guess what? While we've done that and emboldened the terrorists over in Afghanistan, now we're saying, oh, Americans, be careful of terrorists. We've opened our border. Yeah. We don't know who's coming into our border. We know that terrorists are coming into our border. This administration has endangered the United States, and by so doing has endangered the entire world. That's the Biden legacy to come.
Well, and that's another layer to this, Congressman, that I just now realized when you put it that way, is we're off in the Middle East, bombing terrorist groups, wiping them out, which, by the way, taking out any Al-Qaeda leader, any member of the Taliban, I'm all for it. I think that's a great idea. But then, meanwhile, people are coming across the southern border, something to the tune of 24 already that have been captured, FBI wanted by the FBI, and we don't use any of our military to try to combat that, to try to stop that, to try to take out drug cartels and these massive operations, illegal operations happening at the border. So why are we meddling, everywhere else around the world, but we're not using a drop of our military to nuke drug cartels, for example?
Well, we're not doing that because we're so busy training them how to be woke. Yeah. So you get the Navy putting out the proper use of pronouns video, and you referenced the video that the ad put out by the military of China. Did that look like they were trying to become wokeified? No, it
No.
looked like they were trying to be flexing their muscles and scaring the crap out of the rest of the world. Well, our military is saying, "Hey, well, we're going to love you to death, and we're going to
Holding up
give
the
you the
pride
right
flag.
pronoun." Yeah, exactly. This is absolutely as upside down as you can get.
Yes,
And I'm trying to filter right now, Addison, because it's so agitating.
It's very agitating. And I've mentioned this several times on the show, Congressman. There was a U.S. Army ad released a while back. It was a cartoon ad about a girl with from an LGBT family and how the U.S. Army helped her, empower herself and everything. And then you put it side by side with Russia's army, and it's this bone-chilling video of these big, rough and tough, burly guys who are, doing a bunch of badass things. Pardon my French, but I'm just calling a spade. And you put those two side by side, it's like, I don't want whoever's running our military right now, I don't want them going up against Russia or China the way things are going right now.
Yeah, I mean, I smile and laugh to keep from yelling and screaming. I mean,
Yeah.
General Milley, Secretary Austin, these people need to be replaced. This is Milley who wants to spend more of his time investigating our military to see if we've got some white supremacist threat, and they found like one or two people. This is Secretary Austin who wants to make sure that we're all wokeified and recruiting people who can barely make it over. They're reducing the physical components. I mean, for Pete's sakes, we're putting this country at risk because of the crazy policies of the Biden administration.
DEI initiatives destroy everything that they touch, including our military. We're over on time, Congressman, but I've got to get your thoughts about yesterday's primary. Carrie Lake, Mark Fincham, Blake Masters, they had an immensely successful day, all Trump-endorsed candidates. Your thoughts on what's happening in Arizona?
Showed the flexing of Trump muscles, America First policies. And yours truly, I won. I beat nobody, but I did have the Trump endorsement. I mean, the reality is President Trump is still the most potent force in American politics today. The great unifier, of course, is Joe Biden because he's unified the country against him and his policies. But the flexing of muscle politically comes from policies that actually made the country safer and more prosperous. And those are Donald Trump's. And that's why I think his candidates were so successful yesterday and have been throughout the primary season.
We need a little bit of that over here in California. We could certainly use some of what's happening in Arizona here in San Diego and here in the state. Congressman Andy Biggs, great to have you back on the program. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Addison.